going on with all that more drama about Jaybird's party?
Side note, why does it look like you have a brand new head of hair? It looks like you have got so much hair on your
I noticed
I
that.
know, yeah.
It is
Sick and gorgeous.
freaking me out, man.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we are here with Kevin Rolston, who's down in South Florida, and he's going to be sharing his hair loss, hair transformation journey, all that fun stuff. How you doing today, man?
Doing good. It's really awesome to be here and be able to share the stories and what I've learned and what I'm doing right now. And hopefully, through this whole thing, we can help somebody out, because I know what the anguish is like when you keep looking in the mirror and you don't like what you see.
Heck yeah, man. I totally agree with that. So let's just jump right into it, and, skip all the frills. And why don't you take us back all the way through, your hair loss origin story, if you will.
If we're going all the way back, we are going back to me looking at a portrait of my maternal grandfather when I was a kid in the hallway. And that's when I first started hearing about it, noticing my dad was losing his hair. And I heard that it comes from your maternal grandfather. And I looked at this bald dude staring back down at me. I'm like, please, dear God, if you can listen to one prayer, don't make me look like that. And so I was always kind of doing that check to see how far I was away from Grandpa Aldridge. And as the years went on, it just got a little bit more close to that portrait than what I like to see. And probably the first alarming moment for me was I was 25 years old and I was doing a promotion at some karate studio. And so they had me bending over to break boards with my fist. And so I did that. They took a photo of it. They were so proud of it. And they sent it to me. And I looked at the photo and I noticed a big old bald spot right in the middle of my head. I was like, wow. And that was the first oh wow moment where I knew I had to do something, because I hadn't even noticed that I was that thin on top already.
Mm-hmm. So walk me through this a little bit. You said, you've been aware of this since you saw pictures of your paternal grandfather. What age did you become aware of this, that you started looking at those pictures and think like, dear God, please not me?
I was probably 12.
Yes. So this is like really early. I mean, before potentially even puberty set in, and you already had an awareness.
Yeah, my dad was at that time in his late 30s, early 40s, and he was starting to lose a good bit, and it was enough where I saw him trying to adjust his hairstyles, and the adjustments were not really working. And then I just started asking about hair loss. I said, is my hair going to look like that? And they said, probably is, because they say you get it from your maternal grandfather, and that's him. And I saw the portrait and I was like, wow, that's going to be tough. So what I saw my dad going through, I'm like, I'm probably going to have to deal with that as well. So it was definitely high alert for me.
Yeah, for sure. So you had an awareness, and you said when you turned about 25 and you had this experience.
Yeah.
Up until that point, was it like ignorance is bliss, kind of like toss it to the back of your mind as best as you can? Or what was the mindset leading up to that moment where before it really hit you?
Before it hit me, I didn't know. Things looked okay. I was all right on the front part and I hadn't seen anything. It really started right in the crown is where it was. And I'm an action kind of guy. So when I see it, and I knew the day might come, and when I knew the day was here, I went right out. And so I was just trying to look up anybody that dealt with hair loss. Now, at the time, luckily, I was in South Florida. I had just gotten here, actually. And so this is a very vain part of the world in South Florida. So if you want to try to look better with anything, they have anything you could possibly imagine. So I was able to find a guy that was in the hair loss world, and I said, okay, here's where I am. What can I do? And the good thing for me was at the age of 25, I found out about finasteride, and I started on that concept. And it is just a pill that will help at least maybe slow the loss of hair that you have. And I rode that for a good long time, and it probably did slow it down. And I was able to hold on to the hair that I had. And then I got into, it was, my mid 40s, almost in my mid 40s. And it just had gotten to the point where I was looking at my hair, and especially when I would see the aerial shot from up above. And what really stunk is, doing the radio show that I do, we do it on YouTube as well. And so we have cameras all over the place. We have this hideous dome camera that looks all over the entire studio. And so I can see what the camera angles look like. And I would look in there and I would see this dome camera view of the top of my head. And it was torturous. I hated how it looked. And I just said, you've got to do something. I had done a hair transplant too. And I was in my mid-30s probably when I did that. And when I went into it, it was with the same hair guy that I had originally started with. And I thought, okay, I do a hair transplant, I make the investment, my problem goes away. It's my own natural hair, it grows in, it's not gonna fall out. The thing that I didn't realize until after I'd done my transplant was that a lot of guys, depending upon how much hair loss you have, you could need several hair transplants. And I talked to a guy that had gone through, I think 5 or 6 to try to get a full head of hair. And at that time, about 10 or 15 grand a pop, you're talking about this guy is spending $70,000 to try to have a full head of hair at that point. And honestly, he still wasn't even there. That was really kind of horrifying to me. And so it became obvious to me, probably about 8 years after my hair transplant, that it just hadn't done enough. And so it was not going to be all I needed.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions about that. Number one, did the hair transplant ever provide enough after, about a year after, were you like, yeah, I'm satisfied here? Or were you immediately pretty much like, this is not enough. I see the writing on the wall that I'm going to have to do something else about this?
Well, the thing, that I had been told that you got to wait for is for it to take root and then start to grow. And so the first year, yes, I don't necessarily love it, but I'm in hopes that, boy, this thing's really going to take off and blossom. And it did fortify the front part of my hairline a little bit more because I'd started to lose it here as well. And so it, had kind of filled in a little bit of that gap. But then as I started to lose right through here, it was a weird thing of you got a little bit of hair right here. And then towards the back end part of it, there was a big chunk of it. It looked like somebody had hit a golf shot off the top of my head. And
nobody replaced the divot, huh?
Nobody replaced the divot. It's a golf foul. And here I am just walking around with this. And I said, I guess as long as nobody can get up above me, I'm, about 6 foot tall. So I'm in good company with anybody that's 5'10" or shorter. But if I ever get around anybody at 6'2" or 6'3", then I get very self-conscious. So, I got to measure people up to make sure they're not taller than me. And it was a bad way to go. And I realized this hair transplant's not even gonna be close to enough. And by this time I could see, really in a sense, I was disappointed at how little it had covered. Now, I didn't know about how many strands you're using and this and that. And so I really probably didn't ask a lot of the right questions, didn't have a lot of the right information, and didn't know enough going into it. And then coming out of it, I still had enough questions, but I saw what it did cover, and I could tell that how much more I had to fill in. I was going to be in pretty much the same situation, maybe worse than the guy I talked to that had 5 or 6 of these transplants. And knowing what I'd gone through with the transplant, I just was like, do I want to spend that much money? And it was a long procedure for me as well. I said, do you want to go through that 6 times to try to get hair? Yeah. And it was tough. And that's when I started saying, you're either going to have to just shave your hair, what you have, all the way off because it looks ridiculous, or you need to find another option. And that's when a commercial for Hair Club came on. And I was to that point where it was complete desperation. And, I'd had my own thoughts and stigmas about Hair Club and what it was, but I said, I was at that breaking point where I said, I need to go in. And coincidentally, Hair Club was in the same building as my radio station. It was just 3 floors down. And I made an appointment and I drove to it, and I started to walk through the door and I said, I can't do this. And I walked away and I didn't go back. And I was tortured with it for about another 3 weeks. I called and I finally went back the second time. And what I found out after sitting down for my consultation is not at all what I had expected. And it was one of those things where I said, man, I wish I would have done this 20 years ago. It would have saved me a lot of anguish and a lot of issues.
Sure. Yeah. So what was it that prevented you the first time from kind of going through that? You said it took you 3 weeks and you had a lot of misconceptions about what was going to be done or how it was going to be done. So what is it that pushed you to like walk out 3 weeks before you actually did do something for your hair loss?
I think it was part of what I had gone through and realizing, gosh, this is just going to be, it's going to be complex, it's going to be hard, it's going to be massively expensive, it's going to be all of these things. And I walked in with a stigma because I grew up in an era of, the snap-on hair, and I had just really thought that that's what it was all about. Where if you went with any kind of hair that wasn't your own, it was going to be so obvious.
Yeah.
Everybody was going to know, and you're going to walk around being the butt of everybody's joke. And you know what I do, I already am on a show where I take a lot of scrutiny. I take a lot of, we have an audience that they notice everything, and we have a show where we all rip on each other pretty hard, and then our audience kind of feeds off that, and then they rip on us really hard. And so, they are about the toughest audience you could possibly have, just for the nature of what our show is. And I said, if I walk in with two-tone hair or something that looks like Elvis, I said, they are going to laugh me out of the building. And that was probably, all those thoughts rushed through my head the first time I went to walk into Hair Club, and I was like, you're wasting your time, don't do this. And that's why I left. And then that dome camera, 3 weeks of staring at that and the anguish that I felt, I said, you know what, just try it. I mean, what do you have to lose? If it looks bad, have them show you some photos of the hair systems they have. And if it looks that bad and it's that comical, just be like, thanks, that's not for me. I'm gonna go home and just shave off my hair.
But obviously you decided that it was potentially good enough and that you wanted to give it a try, because I'm assuming that you're wearing a hair system now.
Yeah, I have a hair system. I couldn't believe it. I really thought when they started showing me the photos, I'm like, well, this is not what I've known. I said, this is not, where's the snap-on hair? I thought they would put bolts in your head. You'd be like Frankenstein. You'd have all these kind of, issues going on. And as they kept showing me photos, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And they explained what they could and would do. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go with this. I said, worst case scenario, and they knew this. I said, if it looks preposterous, I'm going to have to take it right off, because I can't walk into a studio that's done with video and face an audience. And I said, it's not going to be good for you. It's not going to be good for me. And we did a reveal video of what it looked like. And I had the before and the after photos. And I walked into that studio after getting my system on from Hair Club, and I didn't say anything. And the reaction from my co-host was amazing, because I was talking about something else, and he said, hold up a minute, like, I hate to interrupt you, but did you do something to your hair? Like, what is going on? Because your hair looks better than I've ever seen your hair look. And to me, I was like, wow, okay, that was the kind of reaction. It was genuine, it was honest, and they were completely blown away, like I was blown away.
Going on with all that more drama about Jaybird's party.
Side note, why does it look like you have a brand new head of hair? It looks like you have got so much hair on your
I noticed that.
I know, yeah.
Like, and it's
Thick and gorgeous.
freaking me out, man.
Is this that new hair program?
This is a new hair program. This is like it. Yeah.
Wow.
This is like you sit in the chair and they go, wah, and they like wave a magic wand, and then you get up and you're going, oh my gosh, I think I have hair now.
It looks great.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say.
I didn't know what to say either, because I kind of wasn't paying attention.
Look down.
Wow.
I know.
May I please touch it?
Let it
Yeah,
I'll be real gentle.
don't mess it up.
Don't mess it
Yeah,
up.
but I'll let you,
Just
because it's
touch
like,
it.
because
Touch it like that.
I don't really know how to style hair. This is the only.
Wow.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Oh my.
It looks real.
It's-
it
it's-
does not look
yeah.
fake. I've seen the guys with the fake
You know, with a
hair.
snap-on hair, and they look like Elvis.
This does not look fake.
If I had
No.
never met you before, I would say that dude's got a really nice head of hair.
That's why, to me, I want to do everything I can to let people know, because I went through years of anguish I didn't have to go through. If I would have made that call, if I didn't have the wrong stigma about Hair Club, I would have jumped right in so much sooner. It would have been so much easier. And so I just want other people to be able to see what I have and be like, this is what Hair Club is. This is what a system looks like. It looks like your real hair. It does so much for you on top of it. The best compliment that I started getting after it was people were saying, you look 15 years younger. And I honestly did. And I said, that's one of the best compliments you can get, because, I'm on a contemporary radio station doing a contemporary show, and in South Florida, that's kind of a big deal, how old you are and how old you act and how old you look. And so for me, it was awesome that if I could wave a magic wand, this is what I would look like, and that's what I got with Hair Club. It is really like, in fact, I call my hairdresser a wizard because what she does, it's absolutely amazing. It's like waving a magic wand, and the hair and the way you'd want to look is how you look when you leave Hair Club.
Yeah, so I agree with you on that. On this channel, you know, I've made hundreds of videos talking about hair loss and hair systems, and the fact of the matter is, for some people, Hair Club is right. Like, they offer a certain service to a specific type of clientele, and it's awesome. You know, some people want to do it all themselves, and that's cool too. Hair Club does, you know, great work. You find the right stylist there. They have a lot of experience, and it sounds like it's been a solution that works very well for you. You feel taken care of. You walk in, you walk out. They do what they need to do. You do what you need to do and be the best version of you, which is being on air. Unfortunately, now you have hair so good you shouldn't be on radio, but instead you should be on TV. So I don't know. We're gonna have to. I mean, at least you have, you know, your online like video radio
Yeah,
show.
that's
So
right. Yeah, we do a lot. Yeah, anymore radio is video, and so it's a whole different world, and that's part of the problem. You know, forever radio DJs used to hide behind a microphone. They'd always say a face for radio, and that's one of the standing jokes in the industry. But everything is video these days, and with social media, you can't hide in an on-air studio and expect your audience not to know what you look like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, you know, one thing that's really interesting about your journey is it has been going on for it sounds like essentially 20 plus years.
23 years. 23 years.
Exactly. So
and 102 days and 12 hours. But, you know, nobody's
and 7-8 seconds. Exactly. Yeah. Well, but the thing is, it really does feel like that. You know, when someone is in perpetual like mental discomfort, dis-ease, or even anguish, as you've said, like these moments can feel very long, and like you're a shell or a fraction of the identity that you feel like you are, but for some reason can't seem to access. Like there's this veil in between you. So, but what you're saying is also very indicative of how not only the industry of hair loss has changed, but also what we're seeing. I think it's kind of like a renaissance as far as how people view hair loss and view fixing it, because 20-30 years ago it was extremely stigmatized, and there's still a lot of stigma around it, which is the work I'm trying to do, is, you know, destigmatize it, if that's a word. I don't think it's in the dictionary, but maybe one day will be because of me. But what we're doing right now is so important, because the more people like you, like myself, like anybody that shares their story, talks about this stuff, it liberates so many people to be at least curious about it and find the right solution for them. You know, 15 years ago, I imagine that you walked into a doctor's office or, you know, your hair loss specialist, and they said, take this pill. And there wasn't probably as much readily available information available. Now we have more and more choices for how we want to handle the solution, more knowledge, more conversation about it, and that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it really is. And, you know, I think where hair loss is, and hair systems, and recovering your hair, there's been so many other things in the area of wellness, and people are doing different kinds of things, especially in an area like South Florida, that it's just another one of those things. I think mental health is very important, and I do think you need to love you for who you are. But for me, it just gave me a lot more confidence and a lot more ease. I wish I looked great without hair. There are some guys that can pull it off and they look absolutely amazing. I wish I were that guy, because honestly, I would be sitting here without hair. I'd be proud. I'd feel great. I'm not one of those guys. Me without hair is a hideous thing, and it's a big difference, and it's not where I want to be. I'm in the public eye, and I'm in a place where you are scrutinized a lot. And so for me, it gives me more confidence. It's easier for me to do my job. And I just like having that peace of mind, saying, okay, I know I don't have to worry about my hair, where I used to spend a lot of time worrying about my hair.
Yeah, 100%. And one thing, like it's this intangible thing I've talked about a lot, and I'm curious about your perspective on this. Is so people talk and in a lot of different spheres with a lot of different products, people talk about the cost of something, like how much is this going to cost me? And they're thinking primarily in dollars. Now, so in my journey, I always say, like, I can't say that this is the reason that, you know, my businesses started improving, my relationships, but just primarily in the factor of money. I noticed that when I started taking care of my hair loss, I got a hair system, and I started feeling better about myself. I started making more money. I started, like, my business started doing better. All of these things started, like, rising with the tide of how I felt. And I'm curious if you've noticed something like that in your own life, where as you started to feel better, you know, this cost that, hair systems, no matter where you go, hair club or otherwise, are going to cost you money. It's going to be something you have to dole out some cash for. But did it improve parts of your life, whether it be financially or relationally, psychologically, that you're like 100% this is worth it, beyond the fact that it just look better, in my opinion?
Yeah, to your point, what you're saying, absolutely, for me, because a lot of what I do, you know, we do a comedy-based show, and you have to have somehow a sense of confidence in what you do and what you deliver. And if you can do anything to increase that confidence, a lot of comedians and whatnot, they'll have these radical egos that, you know, or they'll cover things up. But sometimes you have to play a mental game to get yourself out there to do what you need to do. And it is a battle of the ego. And if you have that kind of confidence, you're not self-conscious about some things. That's why whether you're doing a radio show, whether you're doing real estate, whether you've got a business, it gives you that confidence that you really do have to kind of plow through at a different level that is kind of maybe an extension of yourself. And having that kind of confidence enables you to be that person. And I think there's also just a perception about hair and about wealth and success. I was just reading something this last week. It was a survey that was done, and they had women, they were asking them questions, and they predicted that white bald men were less successful, less friendly, and enthusiastic in life. I mean, that's the stigma that is still attached to white bald men that don't have hair, is that they are those things. They're less successful, less friendly, less enthusiastic. And young women judge men without hair to be significantly less attractive. So you can go ahead and say, love yourself for who you are, there's self-confidence. And like I said, that is all great for your mental health. But if there's something that you can do and it's a big enough deal for you, that is how the outside world still perceives a lot of white guys like myself without hair. And knowing that, and then having the hair, to me, when I would look at the costs that I have in my life, and we all have expenditures, to me, it's about prioritizing it. And having hair is a high priority for me because of just what you had said. I can correlate success in being better at my job and in life and enjoying my life more by having the hair system that I do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. And you know what? You can't take all the money to the grave. Like, you know, there's something to be said for being frugal, and I consider myself quite a frugal person, but one of the things that I've learned in the past 3 or 4 years is that there's a time to be frugal, but it's about priorities, like you said. And there's nothing wrong with hair not being a priority for someone. If they want to shave their head, that's absolutely cool. We're not villainizing that. But if it is something that you, I, or anybody else, for some reason we just can't get past, or we just want it and we know it's a priority for us, let's just accept that fact, maybe deprioritize something else, and just move forward. You know, I for me, one thing I've noted inside of my life is I really don't care about cars. Like, I just don't. You know, lots of people around me drive really nice cars. They make less money than I. Not that that matters. I don't. That's no judgment there. But they make less money, drive nicer cars, and that's an expense. They've chosen that that's what they want to do with their money, and that's cool. They may save in other ways. For me, this is one thing that makes me feel way better about myself. I choose to deprioritize other things that some other people value, and I think it either balances out, or you can still be on the upside of being budget friendly if you're just conscious of the things that are going to improve your life deliberately.
Well, and the thing that's great about Hair Club is they actually have people whose job is to sit down with you and look at your finances and help you to figure out how you can get whatever solution it is. And it's not all hair systems. They have all kinds of different things. And the thing that's great is having a consultant say, here's your bone structure, here's what your face looks like, here's what we could do for this price. Because you can't walk into a barber or hairdresser even and say, hey, give me a hairstyle that's going to make me look more attractive. They may be like, I don't know. You walk into Hair Club and they really are great at framing your face and saying, we could do this and this little trick and that. And okay, what's your budget for this? And we can work with it and do a payment plan so that, you know, you can make this work into your life. So that's the thing that is nice, is you don't have to be a person that is clearing well over 6 figures to be able to go to Hair Club and get something where you say, you know what, my hair looks great, I've got the confidence I want. You'll find a solution that works for you at what your price is.
Yeah, well, that's cool to hear, man. I think that's one of the things that, you know, Hair Club does have in its pocket, and that, you know, people, if it's the right solution, the right provider for them, it's just, you're going to get a lot of expertise and you're going to get a lot of options and coaching and consultation and whatever, like many different things come with the services at Hair Club that come with the higher price tag than just buying your own hair system and bringing it to someone and saying, you know, make me look good. So that's something that people can't really take away. And, you know, it sounds like you valued that, and that's awesome. So, you know, before we wrap things up, I think we've touched on a lot of stuff, and I'm super appreciative of hearing your story and how this has affected your life for the positive. Is there any advice, any tips, any tricks, whether it be about, you know, the maintenance or changing and adapting your life with a hair system or mindset or anything that you want to kind of share with our audience here that you feel like is important?
Yeah, you know, the biggest thing that I had learned, and like I'd said, I wish I had known more about Hair Club 20 years ago, is I think a lot of times you feel like you're alone, you feel like you're clueless in this, you don't know what to do to try to make yourself look better. And like I'd said, just starting off by going into Hair Club, to me would be a great journey to have somebody that knows this stuff. Because look, I'm not a fashion consultant, I'm not a beauty expert, I'm nothing like that. And that's why for me, I felt like I was on the journey alone. I didn't know how to walk it, I was confused. I didn't have that guru, that consultant that was really helping me out, or at least giving me these solutions that I felt were really working for me. And that's where I think Hair Club can work. I think there are little tricks like the finasteride that you can look into, things that you can do. You can start looking at what's going on in your diet. There are different things that you can just make subtle changes in with what you're consuming and things that you're doing that can help slow your hair loss. And for me, that was great because you can offset the cost. Now, the hair system that I have, I got to the point where eventually I needed this, but I didn't need a hair system when I was 30 or 35. It was something that I progressively got to. And that's the thing that's great with Hair Club, is they can take that journey with you and they'd be like, look, you're 25 years away from needing a hair system or anything along those lines. You know, here's what you need today, and you're gonna look good and you're gonna have confidence. And then when you're ready, then we can talk about other options. But, you know, here's where it is today. So it's not a one size fits all. It's, hey, you sit down, let's talk about what your desires are, what you wanna look like, what's your budget, and then let's make something work for you. So just knowing you've got a place you can pop into, whatever your age, whatever your budget, whatever your part of the journey is, they can go ahead and take care of you with that.
Awesome. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you so much, Kevin, for coming on and chatting with everybody. I'm going to drop a link down in your show, so that way people, if they do want to check you out and roast you, they can do that. Yeah, exactly. People love to roast online and whatever. Let's go with it. But thank you so much for coming on here and just sharing your story and, you know, how your hair loss journey and transformation has progressed. So thank you so much, and everybody, appreciate you watching. Pull the trigger on the like button, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you later.
Thanks, Jake.